So it gives me the most pleasure ever to have my Scottish brother with me today. The PR genius, ideas factory, just funniest man in show business. Twiggy.
Paul Daniels.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's dead.
Yeah, R.I.P. Paul. So it is Twiggy, Mr. Alan Twigg.
Hey, Mark.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm just shell-shocked because you've been ranting already. So I'm
No,
really
I
excited.
mustn't rant. You know.
I'm so excited.
You know the buttons to press as well.
I'm just really excited for it. And you were threatening to bring some beers, and I wish you had because we're kind of almost at 4 o'clock.
It's like a desert round here.
We could have done. Yeah, there's
I was
not a
walking up
lot.
from the tube. I was looking for a Tesco's or something.
Maybe a M&S. I haven't been M&S.
Don't make it worse by bloody waving it in my face.
Okay. So we'll do Highland Spring for now, and we'll get something more
Hellish
exciting.
stuff.
Yeah, so we'll get something more exciting in a bit. We'll go round the corner. Jack Horner, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll go in good old
Proper
Fuller's. So good stuff. All right, so we've got a bit of sad news, I suppose, in the fact that Gabby's given us loads of great questions, but I doubt you're going to stick to any of them.
If you want me to, yeah.
It's going to be all over the place.
Well done, Gabby.
So probably we should start by saying how we first locked eyes and fell in love.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'd just done some work with Yo Sushi. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know at that time that you'd worked there.
I existed.
Yeah, and I don't know how, but I think we came into contact, and you said,
I know what it was.
Do you know?
Yeah, so basically I was living up in Milton Keynes, and as usual was checking my phone like mad before I went to sleep. And Yo Sushi was on the front page of Sky News on the app. And I was a bit like, what the fuck? It just was like...
Are they going down?
Well, no, I just was like... All right, I'll be honest, I was really jealous because I was like, I never got that. Like, what? So it had happened, and it was... and then I saw, I think it was in The Guardian maybe, and then it was CNN and a few
Went all
other
over the world.
things.
Yeah.
So I was just, I don't think I got much sleep that night because I was just going, So your stunt was, or the piece was, the activity was the drone?
It was, yeah, and Dominos did it after us, and then Amazon did it seriously. But I literally just wanted to make noise to get the brand on people's radars again, and everything was pointing to it slipping a wee bit as the market was changing so fast. And they wanted to get a piece of the burger action.
Yeah,
that's what it was, Mark. They wanted to get a piece of the burger.
Ramen burger, right?
Well, basically, take away the Glasgow buns,
yeah,
and replace them with Japanese rice cakes, and then stick your tuna or your chicken or whatever in, and you've got a seeming a J burger, as we were going to call it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes you can overthink things when you're trying to get to a creative place. And so we were sitting around with a few bottles of wine, and I just said, okay, it's a new wave burger. It's a new wave burger. Mm-hmm. And then this thing just clicked in my head, and it said, well, it needs a new wave delivery. And I said, I wonder if you can make it fly. Can you make food fly? And then I started looking around and seeing daft things. Yeah. But then I thought, no, hold on a second. We might be able to do this. So for $244, got this...
Is that all it was?
Got this drone sent across from the States, and it arrived. Works off your iPad. I mean, all this is like ancient history now. That's the thing. This when are we going back? 5 years? 6 years?
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
So basically, you could get this drone to work off the iPad, and I said, okay, let's have a special delivery, and because Yo's got that in its DNA, has got that quirky Japanese tech, geeky, bit wacky. It just seemed like a fun thing to do. And you think it's dead easy. So we got this plated meal as they were going to serve them, like the old Wimpy's, where you had the plastic molded plate.
No one's going to remember that.
With the space with the no, wouldn't they?
No.
All right, okay. They were shit anyway, but yeah, it all came in different compartments in this molded plate. And it was cute, and it was a bit kitsch, but it was cute. And the product tasted fantastic.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about this new wave delivery, and I just thought, well, okay, we'll get the plate, get the food, smack it on this drone, give me my iPad, and let's fly it in. So we're in the office, and I'm trying to fly this thing. It wouldn't come off the ground. I said, this drone's shit. It just doesn't work. And the food was too heavy. So when you see the stunt,
I hoped you were going to tell
it's
us.
polystyrene. The meal is actually polystyrene. Otherwise, you wouldn't have got the thing off the frigging ground, which was a bit of fun. But actually, what I was trying to say, I tend to be a visual thinker, if that's the right thing. So I see an image. I started life as a reporter, as a journalist, and the people I admired the most weren't the news editors and the subs. No one admires them.
No, yeah.
They're clever boys. But it was the photographer. When you went out in a live job with a press photographer, I still do it now. It's amazing. I just love it. Because they've got to galvanise something, crystallise it in a second with no words. And that's a tough old job. And we sometimes don't appreciate how good these guys are, you know. I still work with some amazing ones now. I love it. But I had this image in my head. Waitress in a balletic pose, looking up to the sky, with this plate floating above her head, and that's what we created. We went to.
I think you're in the video, right? You're sitting outside.
Yeah. I was cheap, you know. We didn't want to get hired help, but basically it's dead easy. So we just set it up as a press shot, which we then wired out. But we got Robin, the governor, to agree to the then governor to agree to do a video piece, and we sold that in. Interestingly, we sold that into the Guardian. Didn't pay for it. We just showed it to the Guardian. They said, "We love this. This is great." They put it up, 300,000 views overnight, and then Reuters. And it's the way these things work. I know how this system works, you know, and
it just goes.
Something needs credence.
Yeah.
So I always say, get your first piece of coverage, and then the work happens.
Yeah.
Because, and that's true for print or broadcast. Sometimes someone has got to make the decision about whether to cover a stunt or a piece of activation. Needs the credence that someone else rated it to. Yeah. Not just me bullshitting down the phone saying you've got to do this. It's going to change your life. So that's what happened. And then Reuters got on, Bloomberg. So I knew. Like 10 minutes, this thing was going to fly. We've got every single national daily. And then they wanted to come and film. Others wanted to come and film, do their own films.
Okay.
And that's how it ended up going across the pond and going to CNN. And then it went coast to coast. And then it hit ABC. And then everyone's going, who the hell are Yo Sushi? Interestingly, at the time, Yo were looking at trying to break America, trying to get into the American market. And they still struggle now, I think. But they were trying to get in there in a franchise deal. And when that appeared over there, it was absolutely a door opener. So that's what you saw.
Yeah.
And do you know what? When I look back, they were probably quite brave to listen to it.
Yeah.
And I think bravery is crucial.
Yeah.
And I don't see enough bravery, if I'm honest, in the hospitality sector.
We were just touching on that actually before we started recording. This was when we were ranting. And yeah, I think you can understand with the circumstances of everything that's going on out there right now. You know, people are being cautious and risk averse and stuff. Of course. But yeah, where is the bravery?
Also, there's a bit that people don't like to speak about, and they think bravery costs money. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's an emotional, instinctive, or cultural thing. And I've come up with things that have cost £200 that have gone in every single national daily. Yeah. Or that are hit massive reach and engagement and social and digital and some of the stuff we're doing now.
Because I mean, I remember, you know, when I was back at lastminute.com, we an excellent sort of in-house PR team.
Yeah.
And Elena there, who's, you know, just fabulous, you know, she was telling us about, there was a couple of things that stick in my mind about how, I mean, in big PR works, you know, and I think in the restaurant industry, a lot of the time, it can be pedestrian, you know, it's quite safe. We've got a new menu, we've got a new dish.
Not another menu. Yeah.
You know, all that. So, but I think, you know, they were talking about two things. One was, I don't know if you remember, the upside down Christmas tree.
Yes.
That was in John Lewis, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah. I remember it.
I think they only I might be speaking out of turn, so forgive me, anyone legal if I am. But I believe that they only had around 10 or 12 of them at the start, you know, but they were brave enough to go, we'll get the supply, we'll do it, and then they went for it. And then the other one was, God, what was it about? I think it was something around the royal wedding or the royal, and this was a wool. It was, oh no, the guy was ex-Woolworths. Anyway, he did something really clever with around a royal plate, and it was predicting someone was going to marry someone, or it was something like. And again, they had one of them, just hand painted up. We're going to sell these, and it went, you know. And you're just going. I think it was maybe like Royal Engagement Early or something like this.
Yeah.
But anyway, again, and it just went. And I think, you know, the lack of standouts quite huge at the moment, and I've not had anything sort of come across my vision as a consumer, you know, just on social or in the news or just anything that's made me go, wow, look at what they're doing, that's amazing. I just haven't seen much at all.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And it takes it takes of course it takes creativity, but the bravery thing is important. And do you know what, there's people in jobs in all walks of life, in all categories, who have got the option of sticking their head above the parapet and getting it blown off, or their boss going, you pillock, or just sitting there and moving papers around. And I work in all categories, I work in so many different categories, and I see it everywhere, and I can sniff those people from a mile off now, so I usually find a way around them pretty quickly, but it doesn't mean I'm being precious, not far from it. I take this bloody seriously. That's why I've been doing it for 20 odd years, and I've got as much energy for it than I've ever had. It's a better job to do than it used to be. You know, storytelling has been totally transformed by social and digital. And lo and behold, I now sit in the midst, believe this or not, I sit in the midst of a creative team. I have an ex-BBC producer on my right shoulder. I have animators, designers, videographers, social and digital team, influencer, dedicated influencer, all that stuff there. These are all tools. You know, the only tool I used to have when I started work as a reporter was a mouse, a pencil, and a pad, and maybe a really smart snapper on my shoulder. So it's a really kind of exciting time. So you got to use it, and you got to have a go.
And what about the restaurant industry at the moment? I mean, obviously, it's having a hard time.
Tough. It's bloody tough. Of course.
So, is there anyone sort of impressing you at the moment, or you know, any brands that you're thinking, God, they're kind of nailing it in any sort of PR sense or reputational sense? Or
it's going to sound dreadful to say it. In a PR sense, no. No, I'm really not. I'd struggle, Mark. I'd struggle to tell you, and I'm a watcher like you. You know, I've not seen a lot that's grabbed me. There's some cute social, and you know, you guys do some great stuff. You know, but still, God, do you know what? I was just saying to someone the other day, and again, it's about bravery. And it was someone in the hospitality industry who was saying, "Oh, I must do something with influencer. You do influencer?" And I said, "Yeah." And they went, "Oh, I must do that." And for a change, I know you find this hard to believe, but I thought it'd be forthright. And I said, "But what for?" And she said, "Well, I've got to do it, haven't I?" But do you know why? What are you trying to achieve? What else is going on? And we do so much influencer stuff. And of course, there's a lot of bullshit around, and there's a lot of fakery around. But it is hugely effective. And some of the engagement rates, we've just finished a piece of work with Expedia.
Lastminute.com.
Lastminute.com, Expedia. And it's really nice influencer work in 4 markets, and engagement rates and the stuff is between 16 and 17%. Now, so we know, you just know, hey, awesome. That's bloody amazing. That's awesome. And it was simple. There was a creative twist in it, of course. But but they wanted to try it. They've got a good in-house team, really good team as well, and they wanted to try it, and I said, fair enough. So we did it, and it's, but what it's now leading to is they're now because this is the bit I was going to say about how people, either in the hospitality sector or others, are looking at some of this stuff. I mean, I heard you talking in a recent podcast to Gary Vee, and you were talking about some people that aren't even doing digital.
Yeah.
But the influencer thing says it all to me. We've got people coming up to us regularly and saying, I need to do influencer.
Yeah.
And you go, right, okay, fine. Tell me why. And you explain, you talk about how you're going to go about it. And we're really, really rigorous about how we plan it. And then they see it in isolation. They leave it in isolation. Mm-hmm. It's the shiny new silver bullet. Yeah. And let's see what happens. Yeah. How foolish is that? What's the paid for strategy? What else is going on at the time? What have you got going in restaurant or in bar and it's shiny new thing. Let's use it. That's not the way to look at it.
No. I think you're totally right. And I think...
But that's experience.
Well, I think it is in discipline too, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think, in terms of knowing your, being disciplined and knowing you're disciplined in your craft. And I think... Exactly right. We're so guilty, and again, it's lack of budget, lack of resource, lack of belief actually from the management teams.
Fear.
Because marketing, they're just folk that do the flyers, aren't they, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's operator led, completely operator led.
Totally.
So many people we're talking to, especially in that kind of under 30s role, or under 30s, sort of age bracket, they're just being completely suffocated by the people above them because they think they know better.
Yeah.
And it's so sad to see because we're going to lose talent in this industry.
In the industry.
And I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Some of the most talented people that were in the industry have now left and they've gone.
That's what happened.
Which, some were to go and get more experience, but some are just like, look, I don't have the budgets, the freedom. I don't get to do the bigger things. I'd like to understand. And I think when you're so busy and you're a team of two, I mean, thinking about you, right? I mean, it was me and Mai.
Yeah.
And we were running, 60 restaurants, something like this, whatever.
Yeah.
And so you do end up doing things in silos because
you
you've only got budget for one shot.
Aye. Yeah.
But I think it's just if some people could then take some notes from outside the industry, and I was lucky enough to work outside the industry, you do too.
Yeah.
And if you then look at how the bigger thinkers, bigger budget, Fortune 500 type companies do it, it's a paid, owned, earned, shared strategy.
That is absolutely it.
And then when you then pull that all together in your drive cycle and all, it's all laddering up to something. But what happens again and again is people saying, what's the ROI on social? What's the ROI on that post? And I don't know if you can tell what the ROI is of a poster either when we used to do them in the underground,
No.
But it's kind of in that, and I think there's a complete lack of understanding. There's actually a lack of skill and training and discipline as well.
Yep.
And kind of a lot of people are just muddling along. And I think also with something like social, you've got so many cowboys and cowgirls out there, just punting that they do social.
Well, some of them are the biggest ad agencies in the country as well. Yeah, who are charging a ruddy fortune for a crock of. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got someone under 25 running it. Therefore, it is, and it's like, I don't think so.
And it becomes that and some of the problems is that you see. I think the bad side of social management is when you see young folk on it who are executional only. Yeah, and they're probably really bright and engaging and stimulated and inspired, but they don't get to do that, and they think the job is the executional bit. So I'll give you a posting cycle, dear client, and then I'll report back, and here's a number, great, and the client goes, what's the reach, and you kind of drop off to sleep. But actually, it's stopping them opening up and thinking for themselves and going, hold on a minute. And the way I've always looked at even traditional PR over the years, I always used to look at it and go, what does a client think if you just ring up one day, not asking for something? We ring up and go, I was thinking about you last night, and I've had a thought, I've had an idea. Yeah, I've had an idea. Now, if I'm going to do that, I want someone at the other end of the phone, like you, who's going to look at me as you're looking at me now and going, all right, go on, tell me more. And I see a lot of young, well-educated, excuse me, talented people who are, as you say, being stifled.
Yeah. And also, there's a bit about do the bare minimum. You know, so certainly in the agency world as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and we can be guilty of it as well because you're trying to run a business and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
You can have people running those agencies going, well, don't give your ideas away for free.
Yeah.
And don't, you know, don't go the extra mile and just do the bare, you know. But I always think that's like a sort of defense strategy, you know, and I think you've got to just kill people with love, kill people with enthusiasm and ideas, and, you know, just give them your all and give them everything you've got, and you should get it back. 99% of the time, you should get it back.
I've had clients on and off now that come back 20 odd years. You know the drinks industry. I've got a client I've worked with on and off, and different beers he's had in his portfolio probably 20 odd years. Yeah. And he knows that I will give him the truth. Yeah. And I'll challenge. Mm-hmm. And I might come up with some wacky stuff that will scare the shit out of him, but also there's going to be some good stuff in there. But I have to get it out. Yeah. You know, you have to get it out. Yeah. And you can't... I'd sum it up by saying you can't be slightly pregnant. Yeah. Right? If you're going to do this, you know, and that's why I'm still doing it. You know, as I'm slightly greying, he says, I'm so envious of you.
We can Photoshop this.
So envious of you here, you sod. But that's why I'm still doing this 20 years in, is that I get excited and I see a challenge and I just shoot towards it. Yeah. I'm going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do here?
I think I'm a sucker for like a, you know, damsel, or I don't know what the male version is, a guy in distress, Adam. So in distress, like I love that. Seeing like a wounded whatever. I'm just like, I'm up for that. I really want to try and change.
You and I have had chats over the phone about nutty challenges. Going, Christ, what are we going to do here? You know, and it's not exactly. We haven't started with a proper brief. That's another thing that you don't see a lot of. But you know, we're working the brief out ourselves, but and when we bounce ideas around, I mean, some of the left field stuff that you've chucked at me, and I've probably done the same, but it doesn't mean that's what we're going to end up with. You've got to go there.
Yeah. I think it is, you know, just good old fashioned and being risky. And I think also from a client perspective, the ones that we enjoy working with more are the ones that want to collaborate. You know, we've got some fabulous ones at the moment that just want to get in on the action. And actually, it's much better because when it's not that parent and child relationship, which is you show me it and I'll tell you if it's any good. And it's but actually, if someone's there with you, it's like, I want to come to the brainstorms. And you're like, great, let's do it tonight. We'll get a few beers in, let's go for it and get some pizza and whatnot.
I've done stuff in the spirits industry for 15, 16 years. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I love it. Yeah, I love the alchemy, like whiskey, for example. The industry, I love the people. I have to say, in hospitality, that's one of the joys of it. I've met some amazing people. It's a great industry, and the drinks industry is similar. And you meet some real characters. But I'm not just in love with the process of distillation or the romance of heritage, 200 years, and all that kind of stuff. Actually, by and large, they're brave. Yeah. They're brave. Yeah. And it's cutthroat and competitive because you've got massive players in there, you know, be it LVMH, Pernod Ricard, Diageo, Grants, you can go on. And they're chucking shitloads of money above the line and all through the line. So they know. If you're sitting on a brand or in marketing, you know you've got to do something cut through.
But also, you know, to your point about loads of budget, and that becomes an excuse every single time. I don't have budget, But you can spend £23 million really badly. Yeah. Really, but you see it all the time. You see a TV ad, what was that for? And why are people, you know, even spending that amount of money on TV still? And it does freak me out slightly when I'm seeing, you know, the odd time I've seen, you know, bigger companies. You know, we've dealt with the odd one, you know, since we get into food and drink. And you see the media plan and you're going, you're going to spend £8 million like on offline.
Yeah.
And you've got to spend 200k on social and digital.
Yeah, just
It's
nuts.
like,
It's just
come
nuts.
on,
Yep.
you know? So that's quite crazy. So, talking about pizza and beers and all that stuff we were a second ago, Domino's is a big one for you, right?
Yeah, that was when I had my own agency.
Super exciting.
And it was just a bit mad. But I tell you what, they were brave. They were brave. But what I admire most about Domino's, having worked for them for it was probably two or 3 years, was they were so ahead of the curve on understanding mobile. Yeah, and kind of what ultimately gets you to one-click ordering.
Yeah.
And they had some really smart digital people in-house.
Yeah.
And they committed good budgets, unlike you were just saying. They were committing good budgets to it, and often it was digital first. And that's right for them when you think about the process. And there's lots of businesses like them that weren't doing it. So yeah, I loved it. And I gave them some really wacky stuff, and they kind of went, yeah, all right. We invented the pizza selfie.
Right, go on.
And lots of people have done it since and go, oh God, get over it. But yeah, no, we it shows you how these things work, and it also reminds you that you've got to have a way of capturing interesting things that happen when you've got a retail estate.
Yeah.
So someone walks into, I think it was in bloody Lancashire. So a customer walked in, a regular order, and said, is there any chance you could give me some empty pizza boxes? And the guy goes, aye, no problem. How many do you want? I said, oh, 12? Eyes, eyebrows rise. Okay, yeah, sure. And then they asked the obvious question, what's it for? And he said, it's my husband and I are my fiance and I are getting married in a few weeks, and everyone knows we're pizza mad. So we want to have a bit of fun at the wedding. So when we unveil the cake, and it's a 3-tier cake, on the base of it, we want to have pizza boxes. And it's just to make the thing grand and stand up and a bit of theatre.
I'm just thinking about structural issues.
Yeah. Well, no, they did it. I know they did it.
Right.
But anyway, someone in the franchise rings their manager. The manager then rings into HQ in Milton Keynes, and then it eventually found its way to us. And we said, well, Christ, what would you do with that? That's a bit weird. Okay. And one of my team, a girl called Sarika Patel, great lass, and she went to their wedding, and she delivered. She got very well dressed up as well. She looked great, and she delivered a pizza. But we found this food artist, who stuck the couple's face on. I mean, there was even
like on the cheese.
On the cheese, man. There was even pineapple on one of them. I mean, cross yourself.
I like pineapple.
Yeah. But we put their smiling faces on each of these pizzas, and we thought it's a bit of fun, and we would collect some good content that we could use down the social channels, etc. And indeed, that's what we did. And then we were on the phone to one of our mates at, I think it was the Mirror, and said, we just did this wacky thing. Can I send? Send it over. And we sent it over. Bim. And then we realised that it had a bit more power. And maybe it was a quiet news week. But this thing went bloody everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And then the couple contacted us about a year later and said they were on holiday in Iceland or something, standing by a volcano or something. And these people came up to them, these Americans came up and said, hey, were you the pizza selfie?
No.
Yeah.
Come
and
on.
you kind of go, I've changed someone's life. It's all been worth it. But yeah, we did all sorts of great fun. We did this, the edible pizza box for April Fool's Day. So you could, if you were still hungry at the end, which is pretty unlikely, but you could eat the box.
As well.
So we did that with the guys at Iris, who I enjoyed working with them. They did the digital and actually, that was a good example. When you work for clients like that, who have multiple agencies down different work streams and specialisms, to see that if you can actually get them to work together.
Yeah.
And Domino's, it worked really well. That was leadership. That was like from the marketing director down. He would force everyone into the room together, and everyone was at the table. Yeah. Everyone had an opinion, and he comes from that great place that you meet these people from time to time. I don't give a shit where the good idea comes from.
just need the idea.
Yeah, if it's the Deliveroo man who's just taking his helmet off in reception, we'll take the idea. And so he encouraged that, and I love that, because when you've got people who are promotions, sales, digital, traditional, outdoor, you name it, merchandising, you've got them all in the room. Geez, if you can't crack something, and it creates. So those kind of environments are wonderful. I loved working with Domino's.
Except you had to go to Milton Keynes.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
I really loved it. I lived there for years. I thought it was great.
No, it was just a bit of sorry, no disrespect to you, Mark. I mean,
that's where I grew up.
It depends where you were born, doesn't it? And how it compares to.
Well, yeah, that's a lot better than home, probably.
I'm not a huge fan of Milton Keynes. At one point, we were working for Domino's, and also Home Retail Group, which before they split it up, that was Argos and Homebase, and they were also in Milton Keynes. Yeah. So there was some days where I was in Milton Keynes all day, and then I just got. But yeah, I'm not real Milton Keynes. Yeah. In that concrete bit by the station,
Silbury Boulevard and whatever.
Yeah, that's right. And by the time you got home, I was crawling up the wall
for some real stuff.
And
then what about stuff that you're an ideas machine, right? That's why I phone you, and all the rest of it. What has happened with ideas that have never made it, and what stops people using them? And because I'm sure there's loads on the cutting room floor that you wish you'd saw.
Oh God, yeah. And I'd say what I'm not averse to pulling them out and off picking them up off the floor, and bloody years later, if I still believe in them and they're still relevant. Yeah. Sometimes people are screaming for ideas, and I mean, that's part of learning, isn't it? I've got things lodged in my head. I think, and it suddenly comes to me that something I did when I worked for Nintendo, and I might be talking about a beer, and you suddenly go, hold on a minute. Yeah. And I guess that's what getting into your advancing years gives you positively. But I mean, you were talking about Yo. I can remember sitting in a room with the guys there. I really liked Robin, the CEO.
Robin's amazing.
And there was.
Got to try and get him on this, by the way.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. He's wise. He's a wise old owl.
But amazing.
But he. I can remember sitting in a room with a bunch of them, and they were talking about people not appreciating that they do great hot food. And we're not just about sushi, because there's so many people that don't do sushi for one reason or another, and they're saying we're missing out. But they could come in and have a WAGS experience or an Itsu experience and all that. Quite rightly. So he said, what can you do? And I just said, okay, why don't we take South Bank, because it's high profile, and it's probably not doing its numbers.
It's a great restaurant, though.
It's a great spot.
I did dress up as Santa in that one.
Did you?
Yeah, I've got the figure for it. But yeah, I was the PR shot for the Christmas dinner sushi roll.
Oh,
I was holding it like this.
God.
Yeah, but they kind of did me from the nose down, so you didn't know it was me. But yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. Did it work?
It was delicious.
No, I don't mean that. You know what I mean.
What, did it actually get much pickup?
Aye.
Oh, you weren't doing it.
Right, okay. There's lots of other reasons.
Yeah.
But no, I said to them, okay, why don't, if you really want to make a mark, and create some talkability. It might feel risky, but be bold. Yeah. And he said, what? And I said, well, why don't we take that store, rebrand it at the front, do it properly in the same colours, and we'll get rid of the fascia, and it will be called, for a month, it will be called No Sushi. Right? And you're looking at me strangely as well. And just to keep it on brand,
I'm just so
I would keep
the
yeah, I would keep the exclamation mark on the O, as in yo. So I can fit all that.
Yeah.
But what does it do? Well, all we would serve is hot food, and we could trial new recipes and do that. Their executive chef's fantastic guy. Mike's a great guy. And I said, but they're all. I mean, the blood drained out of their faces. They're going, you can't do that. You're completely going to the heart of our business and pulling it apart.
But just before you go on, though, this feeling that I've got right now by you saying this...
That's indigestion, Mark.
It probably is the Highland Spring. But the feeling that makes you know that it's a good idea. So just for
I saw that in that room. I saw that.
So marketers that are listening right now, or managers or CEOs or whatever, if you feel the fear, that's the feeling that means it's a good idea. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Every time I've had that and I've done it,
it works.
It works.
Yeah.
But boy, do you have some kind of ulcer for a bit, though.
And that was going to take some bravery, and I probably pushed it too far.
Yeah.
But think about it. Yeah. All you're going is someone's going, what's happened to Yo Sushi?
Just turning the wire upside
What's happened
down,
to Yo Sushi? What, have they gone down?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather we were engaging people in a conversation and they were talking about our brand than not. And actually, if you're smart, come on, it's not rocket science. You have all the positioning statements. You have the proposition. Yeah. You explain what you're doing. Jesus Christ, I could have just said, hey, why don't we do a pop-up?
Yeah.
But you got to package it with style. You got to do something that looks like it's got gravitas, and you're serious about it. Yeah. So, I saw people who had your look.
But I think that's a positive. When you've got that gut feeling that you go, I feel uncomfortable, that's when you double down.
Best advice I ever had, and most of his advice was shit, but the best advice I ever had was with a long-standing CEO, and he said to me, do you know what, I watch you all the time. And he said, and I've told lots of people that work for me over the years this very thing, often your first thought is the right one, and you need some courage to follow your instinct. Mm-hmm. And the way he described it, he said, I saw you in a brainstorm the other day with a team and they were all following you. You were there. You had it. And he said you were polite because you wanted to encourage other thought. And that's what that session was about. So you did it. Mm. But it got everyone off the track and they then got distracted and you then went following other stuff. He said, but 35 minutes later, where did you come back to?
First thought.
The first thought. Mm. He said, I've watched you and your instinct is bloody good. Mm-hmm. Believe in it more.
Yeah.
And from that day on, without sounding like a prick, but from that day on, I've always believed in my instinct. And I object enormously to anyone who would say to me, but what's that? I'll get data and insights people telling me, well, I'll go and look at my data and insights. I'm no fool. I don't do things in isolation. Yeah. I do it from an informed position. I have a data and insights team, brilliant team that work in my agency. They're fantastic. Yeah. I can't have insights sometimes without them leading me. Yeah. But when you get to that creative process, you've got to be brave, but follow your instinct.
I worry about that. We're talking to a couple of clients at the moment, and there's some research stuff going on. But I worry about just doing too much research. Because people,
it's a comfort blanket.
It is.
It's a comfort blanket.
Delays and it slows everything down. Yeah. And actually, my point a lot of the time is, you should know. The client should know stuff that is enough to tell you. Yeah. And then also, the reason why you're hopefully good at your job is you can cut all the noise away. Yeah. And you can get to an insight and a thought and a creative idea without graphs and all this stuff. And I think it creates paralysis, and it slows all the creative process down. And because the interesting thing is, if I think back to some research, we had lots of research at Yo, so I don't know, like Big Restaurant Survey, you had CGA and all these things, and
good
it
stuff
was
too.
All great stuff, right? Superb, not doubting that, and it helped so much. However, there was a couple of other documents that we had done, I think when they were originally going to sell and whatnot. And if you followed those research documents to the letter about what was wrong with Yo Sushi, you would have just had this, beige Italian or French bistro that was for everyone.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And the whole thing is again, being brave. The thing with you is you just find the people that are, the 5% of the audience that love you and love what you are, and go for that. And also on the Dominos thing, which is interesting for Robin, he said a brilliant thing on stage one of the times, and he was up with the Dominos CEO at the time. It was Chris someone, maybe? Right, anyway, it was years ago.
Yeah.
And anyway,
before my time.
The guy said, the Chris guy, and he said, I love looking at the the births side of things, you know, in the newspaper.
Right.
Because every person that's born will be a Dominos fan. That's just having at his stage. And then Robin quickly came in and said, you know, I'm paraphrasing now, but yeah, in 5 years' time, it'll be a Yo Sushi Cut. You know, basically, you're going to be the backlash and the obesity and all these things. And this is the future for us, kind of thing. So I thought there was a lot of belief, you know, in the product and what it was. But I think, just you know, I think the brand's going through a bit of a renaissance at the moment, and I think Louisa and the guys are doing a really good job. But interesting when you talk about the rebrand thing, they just did it for Pride. So they debranded the Kensington store completely. Yep. And it said no labels, just Pride. And then they just did the wee stack of the rainbow plates. Yeah. So they did that really nicely. They might have saw your document lying around or taken a bit of inspiration.
Hey, there's a damn sight more. There's a damn sight more there. But that's, you know, you need stimulation to turn out the kind of ideas that we turned out. Yeah. And that's true of all the stuff we're doing. So, I mean, the thing about Insights is our Insights team are brilliant, and I mustn't decry it at all.
But I think it's just balance, everything in moderation, because, you know, people go. It was actually my training from lastminute.com. So Brent that started it with Martha, Lane Fox. So Brent was super against research, like, you know, in terms of, and, you know, I'm sure he was open to it, but his point was, you can spend hundreds of thousands of pounds getting this to tell you, and actually, when research comes back, what a lot of people do is they take out of it what they want to take out of it.
Of course, yeah,
and
it confirms their
yeah,
and they use it as an affirmation.
Yeah,
or they back their idea into it.
Yeah.
It's like someone coming up with a brilliant strategy, and you realise actually they've gone to tactics too quickly, and now they're trying to back in a strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and for me as well, it's down to the people.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have some people who speak English.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what I mean, they speak normally.
Yeah.
I struggle with geeks.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you start waving your charts around, that's fine. But just tell me what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you can't tell me that when you were at Last Minute or Yo or Pret that you didn't have a really good sense of your audience demographic. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the lovely thing about Last Minute in the main, lastminute.com, I should say, in the main, was it just was, you were marketing to yourself, which made it easier, because it was people that were our age. Yeah. Pretty much. So it was quite a nice thing to be in. Slightly different, you know, when you went to, you know, Yo's and Pret's the World and all the rest of it. But
it's interesting. We use in social listening really well. Mm-hmm. We work with Red Bull, who are an interesting organisation. Really like them.
One of the best.
And the work we're doing is fascinating. But I couldn't do any of it without the social listening. Basically, you know, if they're trying to broaden their audience from testosterone-filled males, for example, you know, high-octane action sports and all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to broaden it, they need to look at that stuff. So in that broadened audience, we've identified audience segments, but our research guys have gone in and the social listening is saying, what are they on? What are they talking about? What are they buying? What are they wearing? What are they eating? And once you get all of that together, you can start to make decisions about what kind of content you target them with. And we've been doing a lot of work on that. And that's where it's... And, you know, you can do that quickly, as you know very well, some of that socialist. And it's not just sentiment anymore. Yeah. You know, you can get some really chunky stuff. So I'm a huge believer in it, but I totally agree with you sometimes, is that I think that the way sometimes it's used in-house is as a crutch, as a justifier, when really they're spending so much time, and as you say, sometimes so much money. I'd rather take that money and get on the front foot, and talking to people that I know are there. I know what they think. I know what they think about us already. Let's go do it. But you have hierarchies and different people in different corporates, and different things turn them on.
Yeah, and I think it's usually as well, as you say, a comfort blanket if the idea doesn't work.
Yeah,
but the research said so.
That's called
how can we be wrong?
Arse covering. Yeah. Do you know, I liken it? So I love my sport, and I liken it to seeing a midfield just knocking the ball square. Yeah, they're keeping possession, they're knocking the ball back and forth, and then if someone presses on it, they turn around and give it back to the centre half, and he knocks it to the fullback. Now eventually, you know, it's going to the keeper. But they've got the ball, they feel good. You know, but they're going to the square root of fucking nowhere.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
And I see that in business, you know, and there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of process, and people are justifying that we're on this, governor, you know, we're doing this, we're on this. I'm sorry, I don't have the patience anymore. I just want to get to goal. So it might not be fashionable for someone to hoof the ball out defence to carry on with the analogy straight up to the other penalty box. But sometimes you've got to do it.
No, I think, and again, it's about bravery, right? You know, just going for it. There's not enough of that. So I was thinking as well about you know, the perfect client, the perfect brief, you know, all that sort of stuff. Any tips on how clients could be?
I have a very simple solution for clients to write better briefs. Is don't write them.
Oh, good one. Okay.
Don't write them. Give them to your agency. Yeah. And actually, it's a very revealing thing. You'll see whether your agency is actually any good. And a good agency should share it back to you.
Of course.
Yeah. But I get a brief from a client. I still write a separate brief.
Yeah.
I write an internal brief. I learned that from advertising, from sitting around advertising agencies back in the day. When I was the PR, sitting in a corner with a bunch of, you know, Saatchi folk. But they were right, and they're right now. So write your own brief. I'd say to the client, okay, just verbalise. You know, I hate it when agencies, and I've seen it over the years, in mine and in some others, but I hate it when I hear someone saying, well, we got into the pitch and we gave them our best shot, and do you know what? They didn't want that after all. So they go, oh God, you know, and they'll slag the client off. Hold on. Where's the responsibility lie? The responsibility lies on you to interrogate. Interrogate before your pencil, your finger touches anything. And actually, I see that as a bit of a lost skill, or a skill I don't see enough of, is listening and asking the right questions. And if you do that, you'll come out the other end, and you can't blame the client if you haven't won it. You've not reacted properly. So when it comes to briefs, I would rather sit down with a client and chat to them like you and I are now, and I can see the fear in their face, or I can see the nervousness about certain bits and not others. There's a human thing there as well, because, you know, in the end, you could have an impact on how they look as individuals in their own careers, in their own companies, you know, and therefore you need that dynamic. So someone pinging across a written brief, I'm kind of going, okay, I want to get in, and I always ask if I can get in and interrogate.
I think, you know, I'm definitely bad for not asking enough questions. Like, I'd say it's a real downfall of mine. And I think, you know, one of the big things that I try to, like, I think I always never want to be a bother to a client.
No, I understand that, Mark.
There's a bit, because actually I've had it in the past where you ask questions and you get a bit like,
what
don't you understand? You know, I've made it clear.
No,
so I think I've you know, backed off a bit of interrogating too much, and I just kind of, and I think there's a bit of a line about us, which is, Mark will sort you out, or Leo or James or whatever. You know, they'll sort you out. You just have to tell them roughly, and then they'll sort it. And so we've kind of got into that land. I
you
think,
can get
well.
a wee bit casual about it, and actually, you know, going back to thing we were talking about earlier on, and trying to extricate creativity or deliver creativity to a client or get it out of them. You know, a client says to you in their brief, and I see so many of them that say this, they say, we are looking for cut-through creativity.
Yeah.
What does creativity mean to that person? Yeah, and that organisation.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, that means big open windows, take the roof off, let's go and have a good old look. I know you do that, right? That might scare them shitless.
Probably.
Yeah. So creativity. So ask them to define it. You know, you watch their. So sorry. What does creativity mean? What does it mean to you?
Yeah.
You know, tell me what you've seen in the past, or something you see now, something you envy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and tell me about it. And you can't do that with emails.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think you can't. You can't. You need to see their reaction to it. And you know, and in the end, this game is about what you and I are doing now. It's about getting under the skin of people, immersing yourself properly, and the you know, the thing that failed campaigns are about lack of understanding. Yeah, because we should all have the skills to deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should all have the skills to deliver. But the really important skill is understanding what the hell you're doing it for in the first place, and what it is you're trying to achieve. And we don't ask enough questions. And I'm always saying to people, telling them a classic. It goes back. I hadn't been in PR that long, and I was sitting in a pitch, and I always tell people this before we present, and they must be sick of me saying it. Yeah. It's absolutely true. And I was sitting there, and I stood up to do my bit of the presentation. So I wasn't doing it all in those days, and I didn't have the floor to myself, sadly. But I started talking, and I sat down, and I saw some reactions as I was speaking that I'd clocked from there was 6 or 7 people outside the table. And when I sat down, I was thinking about it. I was thinking, why did they react like that? What does that mean? Yeah. And I was asking myself questions that I was thinking, okay, when we get to the questions point, I'm going to ask, or I'm going to probe, or they might well ask me a question. I'm trying to figure it out in my head. And I looked down the line, and someone else was finishing shortly afterwards, and handing to a person on the end on the team. Who had clearly just looked at their slides, the start slide and their final slide, and that was all they were going to do. Yeah. So get to the point. We go through this presentation, a bit disjointed, and I'm not sure that authentic back in those days, because the girl was looking out the window and it wasn't brilliant. But the point, got to questions, and funnily enough, it was a Scotsman. Wouldn't it take a bloody Scotsman? And he said, "Okay, I've got some questions." And he was the governor, and he was in the travel industry. And he goes, "I've got some questions." And he goes, and he asked this straight between the balls question, quite a challenger. But yeah, great, that's what we want. Yeah. And I started speaking, and I said, "Okay, I'll take that." And he went, No. I don't want you to answer it. I know you know the answer." And he looked at me as I'm looking at you now, and he pointed his hand down to the end of the table to said person who'd done their slides and gone back to sleep. And he said, "I want to know what she thinks." Oh. Never forgotten it. So I always say, before we go into a presentation when there's 3 or 4 of us, so what happens if I get hit by the bus on the way home tonight? Could you do my slides? Or could I do yours? Could I do yours? Because you need to see the context of everything. And there's a terrible thing, particularly in consumer PR agency, where they give those jobs out. They go, "Okay, you're going to do that bit. Yeah, you went in the brainstorm. You don't understand the strategic objective here. I want you to present those like you're a bloody monkey." Yeah. But smart clients see it. And he did, and that was 20 years ago. Scared the shit out of me, but I've never forgotten it. So sit there and you kind of say to one another, "Could I do your slide?" And also listen all the way through. You don't know what's going to happen. Read the room. Read the room. Yeah. The only reason I asked loads of questions, I've not asked one today, sadly, but the reason I it's just natural. It feels natural to me. Is that's how I started my life. I started as a reporter. That's all I had in my armory. It was questions. Yeah. But it's the only thing that makes you wise. You know. So I went off on one, didn't I?
That's a big one. That's good. And so what about good stuff? What about, the best project you've ever worked on, or the thing you're most sort of proudest of?
Oh God, I've done some mad stuff. Do you know what? I rather than pick something, I'd say the best stuff I've worked on, and actually some of the stuff that wins awards, has won awards, is ironically, or maybe not, but has been the simplest. And the job has been taking a simple idea and maxing it.
Yeah.
If it takes you more than a line to describe to a client or a colleague or your mum or your dad or your mate, your girlfriend, if it takes them more than a line, you're probably fucked it already.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I always, even to this day, I feel really frustrated about when I see people turning something simple into a science.
Yeah.
You know, get to the crux of it, and can I find a platform? And social's wonderful for this. Yeah. Can I find a platform that allows me to then max this shit out of it?
Yeah.
But people need to get it. And I still use a bit of my brain that I used as a young reporter, which is I've only got 11 words. Yeah, I've got 11 words to get this over. So that word has to go. That word has to go. Like a sub-editor, has to go.
So what was the 11 words? Was that the title or the subtitle or something?
Actually,
like
it's a true story. I mean, the first paper I worked on, they have style. They used to have style guides. Yeah. You probably. I mean, we didn't have laptops and things then.
Yes.
It was bloody great typewriters, you know. But the job remains the same.
Yeah.
But I remember I was working on a provincial newspaper, and our style guide said that your intro par, where you crystallise it all, you shouldn't have to read anything else. Read that and you got it. The limit was 22 words. And I went off to do a court case one day, and I was 21, 22, loving what I was doing.
Was this in Glasgow?
No, it was down in South England.
Oh, down here.
And I went to court one day, and it was a domestic that had turned to a murder, and it was like so.
Really?
So when you went in, you look around and suddenly you see a lot more. You don't just see your local competitors. Yeah, and I could see some big hairy ass guys and gals, you know. And I thought nationals straight away. You could smell them. And I remember I was chatting to a guy in there was a natural break, and I was having a chat, and he goes, "You're the local boy?" And I said, "Yeah." And we got chatting. He said, "How you find it? You're new to the game?" And I said, "Yeah." And he started talking about the intro he had in his head to the story.
Yeah.
And we hadn't heard a lot of the significant stuff at this stage. It can be really dull in court. And you just get impatient to get out and knock the story out. And he started chatting to me, and he was doing it in a kind of a lovely mentoring kind of way. He knew I was a cub reporter, you know. But we got talking about, I said, I got a 22 word limit here. And he goes, "Is that right?" And he was from the Sun. Never forget it. He was from the Sun. And he said, and this is going back in the day, he said, "I've got 11 words, no more than 11 words. Now, what a discipline. It's a discipline that you can use in internal comms, in sending a bloody email, and, you know, and I still think I probably do it naturally.
Yeah.
But try and crystallise things, get them really, really tight. Why was I talking about that?
That's an amazing thought. Well, we were talking about the best work you've ever done, and you said it was the simplest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And therefore I go back. Yes, I know what I was saying. The reason I got to that, and I went off as I do, but the reason I got to that was that I still use some of those skills that I had when I was 21. They're so crucial. And that's why I love press photographers. Mm-hmm. They capture something, and they're not thinking about caption.
Yeah.
The good ones, they're going, this is going to tell a story.
So even without the 11 words,
yeah,
you've got
a caption. You could, but whatever. But you know, and I feel the same way. I feel the same way about creative ideas. I want someone to look at it like a picture and go, "I fucking get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Straight away. Yeah, and then you know you're onto something. And lo and behold, every time I've done something that's maxed and gone completely nuts. Yeah, it's been that simple thing. As soon as you have to layer it and explain it, oh dear.
Yeah.
And that was learned 20 odd years ago. It's actually more relevant now because attention spans, social limits. Aye, that's right. So, and I'm still using that skill, and I'm still using it, hopefully, to teach people, break it down. So think of that analogy and go, this could be 10 slides. No, how'd you get it to 1?
Yeah.
And an image.
11 words.
And an image.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a really good tip. 11 words. That's brilliant. And then problems on photo shoots.
What are you getting at? What have you read or heard?
Well, stuff.
I love photo shoots. I do. Everyone knows it, and they all step back and go on, Alan.
Any celebrity issues?
Oh my God! Some you can, yeah. I once walked in on. Oh my God! I met her and spoke to her a wee while ago. I once walked in on Anthea Turner, in her dressing room because I had a press pack outside. Mm-hmm. This was in Glasgow.
Right.
All chomping to get their picture and go away. It was back in the day when she was like, she was the face of the lottery. She was massive. She's a great woman. I love her. She's brilliant.
Well, they just had the Blue Peter 60th
I know.
thing, didn't they?
It's amazing.
Quite an amazing bunch of room of people.
She's terrific. Still is. Doesn't look a day older.
No,
but, I was getting really frustrated because all these Glasgow Neds were going, "Come on, wee man, get her out of here. We need to get off.
All right.
And we need to get this picture." And in the days when they did all that, it was great fun. And I was just getting impatient. I just flung the door open and then kind of caught her in
a birthday suit.
Yeah. But anyway, no.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
Photo shoot issues.
Yeah, photo shoot issues. Yeah. Yeah. I had a bit of a scrap. I've had a couple of scrapes.
Can imagine.
Near arrests.
What?
Yeah,
right.
I did one in Edinburgh in the Royal Mile, which I still laugh at myself and think, what a pillock. But I remember I was launching the first International Scotch Whisky Festival.
Okay.
Before whiskey really became rock and roll, we were trying hard for lots of years. Yeah. And I said we'll have a cask race. Yeah.
Oh, that's
and I'll
cool.
get some cute people, boys and girls in kilts. Ooh. And they'll have a cask race. And these bloody enormous big casks are stunning things. I've got one at home. And I don't know, maybe it's because of the pressure on the day, but so I had all the media lined up and I had wires and everything ready to take it broadcast. From memory, STV were there, BBC, all that. Loads of snappers. Yeah. And because I was at the top of the Royal Mile, by the witchery, by the ramparts of the castle, and cobbles, I thought, well, you can't have a race without speed. And the only way we're going to get speed is if we go down the hill. Which was, if you think about it, it's just nuts. You know how heavy these things are. And there was a wee slip of a girl in a kilt, and she pushes, I said, let's have a bit of a rehearsal. And she pushed this cask, whiskey cask, and it started within seconds to bounce on the cobbles. So heavy, trundling forward. I could have wiped out 10 cars, a few buses. And it took my stupid brain a few minutes to realise that actually I should be pushing them up the hill. Yeah. And I didn't bother to ring the council to ask on one of the most famous thoroughfares in Scotland or indeed in the UK that I was going to do this, and I was just going to go out on the road. And it was because I probably in those days didn't give a flying hoot. And then I get this tap on my shoulder, and it's the local constabulary, and the way they do it up there is just great fun because he just went, "What the do you think you're doing?" And he said, "That girl over there told me you were in charge." And I looked across, and it was one of my team giggling away. And he said, "Clear this mess up right now. Stop right now." He said, "You've caused a traffic jam on the mile, which has gone on to down the bridges, down the mound, all the way along Princes Street." And I'm terribly sorry, officer. But I was cheeky enough and I had enough gall and swagger in those days to take about 15 minutes to close it down, which gave me enough time and the media enough time to get what they got. So we got it done. I had one with Eric Cantona, who hadn't been back and done any media or stuff for about 10 years after he left United. And it was for a European Football Championships. And I decided I'd do a photo call with him. And I wasn't quite sure how much love there still was for him. I mean, he was a god at Old Trafford. No, but 10 years on, and football had changed quite a bit, and we hadn't seen anything of him. But obviously, I knew he had pulling power, but I didn't quite know until we got out there. So the team jump on the phones. We've got Eric Cantona, and I couldn't get. He wouldn't give me much time, and he wasn't going to get. I wanted him to dress in a certain way, and I was going to have a bit of fun with him, and he just went, "No way." Him and his brother was his agent. They went, "No way," or however you say that in French. No. None.
Way.
Yeah, no way. So we just said, okay, he's going to turn up in a suit because he's got meetings and stuff. So we got we got a throne. We found a throne, a very grand chair.
Well, can you say what this was for?
Yeah, it was, funnily enough, it's for a betting company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the early adopters or early arrivers into in-game betting.
Okay.
And they'd hired him for a TV commercial.
Right.
And in said TV commercial, he was, and here's the context, he played the King of England.
Right. I think I remember that, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
Yeah.
It was pretty weird advertising. So I said, okay, we need a king reference, but, you know, he was the king. He was a king. Arguably, there's not been many like him since, you know. The pomp and all that. It was brilliant. But anyway, we got this old throne from a junk shop and we sprayed it gold and stuck a few plastic bits on it to make it look like gems and put a nice velvet seat on it. And then one of the team sprayed a football golden. And all the photocall was, we just said, come and see Eric Cantona. And they're all going, Eric Cantona's in town. Jesus, what? I said, King of England. And out they all turned. Now, again, you'll see a pattern here, Mark. I didn't bother to ask anyone. We did it in Trafalgar Square.
Oh.
And the team, who are all professionals, said to me, Alan, we're going to need permissions. It's going to take quite a few weeks and it might cost a few bob. And I went, no, come on, we'll just get in and out. So
there's a theme here.
There is a theme. But it's great fun. We and he just came out stony faced. He was such a miserable. But the thing that struck me, and as you know, I'm not the tallest of people. He is enormous.
Is he really?
He's utterly a beast. And you can, and it made me think about his career. You know, he was intimidating anyway. But when you're actually standing next to him, I was thinking, holy God, if that was running at me in the box. But he wasn't.
Kung fu.
Yeah. So he was difficult. He was difficult and moody and French, and which is part of his charm. And he knew it. It was an act.
I thought you were going to say the ball, like the paint leaked off the ball.
It did, yeah.
So I was thinking, how would that apply?
We sat him down and we handed him the ball, and I said, "Just want you to sit there."
Yeah.
And he's looking at me, going, "Who the hell are you, man?" And he just didn't want to do it, you know. And so I had to coax him, and in the end, I had to say. And it was words to this effect, I'm sorry, this is my town. And if you're going to do it here, I'm in charge. Yeah, so please do as you're told. And I thought, he's about 3 times the size of me. He'll punch my lights out. And he looked like he was going to. Yeah. And he just, under his breath, kind of went, and then sat there and played the game. And a few minutes later, we got rid of him. But I did get tracked down by I think it was Westminster Council who fined us.
Yeah, just make you pay
for doing it. Yeah,
a lot of money.
It was a few grand.
Oh right, Christ. Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad you didn't know where I lived. But we had an event with him later in the evening, and he just got tired. He said, "I want to go back to my hotel," and I still had 3 national media sitting in a queue waiting to get a 1-to-1 with him. And his brother came across the day. He said, "Eric's getting tired." I went, "Right, okay." And he said, "Do you want to have a word with him?" As I said, "Eric, we've only got 3 more. This won't take you too long. Thanks for giving us your time. This is really brilliant. It will be worth it. Thank you very much." And he said, "No, I want to go home." And I said, "The hotel's not far away. We've got a car outside. We'll get you there. It'll only take you 5-10 minutes. We'll get you there. Do you want to order some food now? We can get it ready for you." And he said, No, I want to go home. I want to go home to France now.
Wow. Okay.
And then I just had to kind of do I kind of had to envisage my kind of Mark McCulloch, and I grew in stature, and I grew hair, and I should have put the glasses on and said, right, but I effectively said, "I'm sorry, pal, you know, this is and you need to do it." Yeah. But the look in his face was literally like he was going to kung fu kick me. But he did it, bless him, he was brilliant. But I loved all that sparring. But it gets people's nerves and tensions, and they're anxious. Yeah. And just because, as soon as you get, I mean, lots of people have done a lot more celebrity than me. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. But everything's so urgent. Yeah. You know, as you know, you've got 23 minutes for an interview, or you got 7 minutes. I understand, but if you're going to do a job, do it properly.
Yeah, that's for sure. So a couple of final things as well. I've got one eye on the clock.
Yeah. How
as
far's
well.
the pub?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that too. Actually, I'm really excited about that because tonight we've got a Dark Star beer launch. So
very nice.
So we can have a couple before that, and then we'll go in and see that. So yeah,
Sounds good, man.
New Holy Vibo, I think it's called. So so like
I'm not an ale
mental
drinker.
health. No, you're not.
No,
You're just tenants.
Disco juice, as they used to call it back in the day.
Eurofizz.
Yes, Eurofizz. Yeah, there's some good ones. I work for one. Superbock. It's a great beer.
Oh,
Portuguese beer.
Superbock's a great one.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
One of the best, actually. One of the best PR jobs I've seen, and this year, was linked to Corona. I don't know whether you saw it. There was it was for World Waste Day, International Waste Day, and the wave on the billboards made out of plastic.
Shame on me, I didn't know that was Corona.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's not good. That's not great. That didn't come across.
That's shame on me, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the artist's name, but it was brilliant. It was
incredible.
And it did it ticked so many boxes, and it was going back to what I was saying earlier on. It was bold, it was simple, but you look at it either as a still or a piece of video content, or walking past, and you go, I totally get that. I totally get that. And
so talking about sort of beer and PR and stuff like that, seen anything in that realm? I mean, obviously Brewdog are constantly doing stuff. What's your take on that?
I'm a bit worried about that. It's a bit like oh God, the betting company,
Paddy Power.
Yeah, there was a point where people were seeing the odd Paddy Power stunt, and you go, "Wow, isn't that amazing?" And it's audacious and it's bold, and of course, someone like me always loves stuff like that, right?
Did you have a favourite Paddy Power one? Did you have
No.
There was a couple I've got, and only because I know a wee bit of the backstory. So one of them was they didn't have the budget or something to do the Gold Cup, the Cheltenham Gold Cup or whatever, right?
And they went up to the field behind.
They went up to the field.
That was
just genius.
That was, and then
so every BBC shot, it was there.
So they had I don't know today now, but I remember flirting with it a wee bit, and they had 3 agencies. Looking to come up with campaigns across the year at any one time. And I think the problem there is it started to become about just how much attitude they had.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of lost its way a bit. The thing I was going to say was some of it was brilliant, and I'd love to have come up with it and delivered it. I would have been so proud of it, and I know the agencies that did it, and great work. Yeah. What a lot of people didn't realise, and this is when I changed my opinion about it, was how many stunts were being put together that didn't work. Yeah, that didn't work. People don't remember, and just because I'm in the game, I'd get to see, some of the failures. But they were turning out a heck of a lot of stunts to get the big one.
Do you not have to do that though?
No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do. You if you're pretty single-minded, and you've got to be tough with yourself and go, nah. Okay. If there's any doubts, because some of these things in that case cost a fortune, and I would feel uncomfortable just churning these out. And clients always say to you with a stunt, clients always say,
where were you going with that?
I stopped myself.
Can't say.
I was going to give you an example, but when clients automatically, am I going to spend 100 grand or 200 grand, and what's the guarantees? And I really don't want that conversation. I also don't want that responsibility. I'd rather find a cleverer way of creating that impact. So it's a risky old game, and I think Brewdog have been. It's getting to me. It's getting to Paddy Power stage. I think I'm glazing over a bit now, and I think it is so self-conscious. Yeah, it's so indulgent. That hey, we're punks. Yeah, I'm beginning to go. Yeah, we know that. Yeah. We know that. Yeah. Transgender beer. I'm not sure. I was never convinced.
Don't know if I knew about What was?
Yeah,
what
they just launched a transgender beer. Why not? To play into when transgender and all those really important issues came about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. I don't want my leisure brand playing in that territory. Now you could look at Nike now and go, well, hold on a minute, look what they've done. They're different things. They're entirely different things, and I don't want my beer. Ugh,
Well,
I'm not convinced.
It feels Teenage Fan Club reference, bandwagon-esque, doesn't it?
It is bandwagon-esque,
and I think
because they've spawned so many other punks, and so many craft ale brewers that suddenly appeared. A bit like all the new concepts that we were having in hospitality these last 5 years. There's another one every week. Yeah. And actually, let's be honest, and it's like some of the craft brewers, artisan brewers, they brew it with no knickers on, or with a purple head on, or with blancmange in their ears. But you know instinctively that they won't be there in 6 months.
Yeah.
And it starts to become incredibly pretentious, and for me a bit shallow, and you cannot question the power and the strength of Brewdog. And I know some of the agencies that have helped them get there, and I know they are great agencies, but I'm beginning to think it's run its course.
Well, I think they've done.
What do you think?
Well, you were going to get a question in a minute. I really admire them for what they've done.
Change the category.
Completely. And I think they are the biggest, and they are now one to be really listened to. So, for example, the other day,
the brand stretch is also impressive. That they can go into hotels and they can build those enormous breweries all over the bloody world.
Brands
Incredible.
can do,
Exactly.
And I think the core idea is still there. I think the cult following that they have by the fans is pretty incredible, and it's just a bit. I think it's went from, I don't know, G-Star Raw or name your cooler fashion brand, to now it's like super dry. And then the next dangerous thing is, do you go and become River Island or next, total high street, Yeah. So I think
that's a good analogy.
I think it's in the super dry category where you saw bank managers, no disrespect to bank managers, but the tie was off, and then at the weekend they've got a super dry t-shirt on and they're feeling all very cool with themselves. That the whole rest of the world, no disrespect, super dry. I really like stuff, but I'm a bit big for it at times. So anyway, I think that's the journey that they're on. However, I think there's a bit of self-indulgence, and I think, the lot of, ironically, I'm talking about self-promotion doing these podcasts, but, I think, there's a lot of, they're becoming sort of TV personalities in their own right, and this sort of stuff, which is interesting. But
dangerous.
Could be. I mean, but I think they try stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's brave.
Well,
and I
absolutely.
think they should be applauded for that.
They have to be applauded for that.
Also, they released a document lately which I feel was met with quite negativity, and I think actually it's a shockwave for the industry. And people are saying, God, look at Brewdog sending out their 10-year plan, and it was so important what they said, right? So through it, they're talking about doing, it's available online, check it out, download the PDF and all that.
Yeah.
But they basically are talking about, they're offering franchise stuff, and a lot of it's like quite groundbreaking stuff. And then they've announced that cask beer is back. And we've talked about cask earlier, but cask beer is back. Now, a lot of people are sniffing at that and going, cask beer's always been around, and the point is, with them saying it, it's the fact that it's like One Direction have said it, or Taylor Swift said it,
that's true.
rather than, Madonna or Blur, or, pick your older band. So that's why it's important, because for a new generation, and actually all the brands that are kind of saying, we've known about cask beer, the point is they're going to help your sales too.
Yeah.
Because whatever Brewdog says kind of goes with that
They're now
bigger
speaking
audience.
on behalf of the category.
So people are going to discover, we were talking about vinyl earlier on, so it's as if Spotify had said, hey, vinyl's cool and we're opening record shops. So I've got a lot of love for them in that way. I think it's just like, it's kind of like when your band goes mass.
Yeah.
You don't love them anymore. So when Oasis got famous, or Arctic Monkeys got famous, whatever, you start to go, oh, they've jumped the shark, or they're mass.
So is it discovery that's the turn
niche. Yeah, I think so. And I think the issue, I mean, who else is at their size in craft? I mean, they're beyond craft now.
Yeah, they are.
They're just, they are
No,
the alternative.
You've got to take your hat off.
They're the Virgin Airways versus BA.
Yeah.
Or Virgin Atlantic or whatever.
It's there's one thing leading. There's one thing, and I hope this isn't too controversial, but there's one thing leading, and there's one thing counselling. As a brand like that, it's another thing sometimes being, I think at times overtly aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, self-satisfied, a bit smug.
There could be a bit of that for sure.
Yeah.
I think
I might be doing them a huge injustice, but
I don't know. I mean, I think it'd just be interesting to see what happens next, because at some point, I mean, if it was me, I would have probably cashed out a long time ago.
Yeah. But they're not
I'd
doing
just,
that.
They're still in it and flying all over the world every single. If you follow James and Martin on their Instagram and stuff, they're doing hard yards.
Yeah.
And it's not just a day job; it's a night job as well, because then they're going out into doing beer tastings and da-da-da. So yeah, I mean, I've never met them, don't know them, but yeah,
you should get them on.
Oh, Christ, that would be amazing. But yeah, I'd probably be quite starstruck and scared.
Don't tell them what I said.
Well, yeah, we might be in trouble. So, right, we're going to go to the pub. So, last question is just a tip, one thing for people to think about if they're wanting to stand out and use PR to its fullest potential.
For me now, it's all the thing you've got to do is, and Christ, it might have been around forever, but it means a different thing now, is that it's the integration piece that's absolutely transforming what I do and what the teams in our agency do. And you hear it, integration, 360, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not a great one for buzzwords, right? But we're working on stuff now where we have got our data and insights people testing, tracking, doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I've got traditional PR, I've got social and digital, really bloody good. We've got influencer in there. We've got paid for, we've got content creation. We've got all of that there. Storytelling is a joy right now because of all the things that are at your disposal. They are cheaper. So you film this on your phone. The quality is incredible. Going back to what we were saying earlier on, stunts or anything, you can be frightened because of budgets, but actually all of that's fallen away as well now. And you can do things instantly. So the thing, and I'm going to use another cliche maybe, but it's true, like a lot of cliches are, you've got to think holistically, and just because you've got someone sitting in a Diesel t-shirt and trendy shoes, don't know what make that would be, who was born and bred in social, it doesn't mean your storytelling's done. You need different types of wisdom. You need different perspectives on life. So don't go grab what you think is the new shiny thing and take it out of context, and don't, and because you're not maximizing its effectiveness. So that's the thing that, in all the work that we're doing in all sorts of sectors, and it's, and no surprise, it's where it's growing.
Yeah.
We are growing significantly. It's that kind of work where we are multi-layered. It might have a simple idea at its heart, but we are exploiting it, maximizing it, delivering it, whatever you want to call it, activating it in many different ways. If you can get all of that running together, oh my God. Yeah. Now that sounds expensive, doesn't it? Yeah. But it doesn't have to be.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think there's a real democratization now of all that. And if you're smart and you can do content on the fly, there's young and hungry people now that don't have to have had all the years experience in the content, the photography. And, you know, there's just technology's been such an enabler.
The
to
analytic
make this
tools
thing.
that are out there that you don't have to spend a lot of money on now, and all those people sitting out there going, yeah, but what's the ROI?
Yeah.
You can go, well, here's a different way of looking at it, pal. You know, and those don't have to be expensive tools. You know.
Yeah.
So there's so much changing. It's really exciting. Embrace it, but don't sit in a niche.
Yeah.
Don't sit in a PR or a comms or indeed a marketing niche going, this is what it's about. Yeah. You've got to open up and look around. And therefore, when you see the brands that do it well, that's what they're doing. That's the magic.
Yeah.
You might just think, oh yeah, God, what a stunning idea. But it takes a lot to execute. And when you see them executing it on different levels, from outdoor to
Insta stories or whatever it is.
And then really interestingly, to finish, the bit that's always frustrated me in hospitality, and I've heard you and I have had conversation. I'm sure we've had a conversation about this in the past. Is you can come up with a great campaign idea, right? It's a comms idea, or an advertising positioning, right? How does it translate? How does it translate onto the shop floor? Yeah, not just to motivate the teams, but actually, how does it articulate or express itself from the front of house staff to the customer? Yeah, and that's that thing about holistic and integrated, and that's what's. I know you try very hard to make that work.
Sure.
And there's people that will use PR and social and they expect it to give it the old silver bullet and sort their shit out and get their numbers up or get their footfall up or get their average transaction value up or whatever the hell it is. No, hold on a minute, you know. And if a brand is going to act like a brand and be true to itself, you should be able to. If it's a restaurant or a bar, you should be able to walk in and see my work somewhere. It tickles you, it grabs you, or it forces you to cross the threshold. But when you go in, you see another reflection or expression of it. And I think specifically in hospitality. Don't know about you, I'd love to know. We can do it over a beer. But I don't see enough of that. And also in retail generally, the people that do that, I think it's bloody amazing.
Well, it's disconnected because it's head office, support centre, whatever you want to call it. Send out the kits that are the posters for the window and all the rest of it. The team might get like a Bible and all the rest of it, but actually it would be more interesting to maybe flip the whole thing on its head and say, right, we're going to celebrate, you know, thinking about someone like cultures or something, you know, we're going to celebrate this particular type of mushroom. Start, as you say, from the inside out. Right, what experience are we going to give to people? Because when you go into Apple and there's a new product out,
that's exactly what I was thinking.
You know what I mean? There's no surprise what's going on because they've got it on their t-shirts, and it might not even be a blatant slogan. It's just the fact that it's a red t-shirt because their biggest campaign at the moment is around the new red iPhone, or it's Christmas, or and if you probably get hit up 8 to 9 to 10 times, that message is reinforced round about the in-store experience,
and then really
it all adds up.
That's right. And then and they're pressing different buttons in you as well. And when it actually comes to it, it's how you deliver it as well, in a retail sense, and those people and those human connections. Is it real? Does it feel like they mean it? You know, and that's the bit that bothers me. I see, you see these big campaigns, and then you go in store, there's either no sign of it. I've run campaigns for restaurant groups, right? No names, but I've run campaigns for restaurant groups. They got terribly excited. We've created real visibility, yeah. And I've gone in restaurant. No one even knows what we're talking about. Yeah, that's nothing short of a crime.
It's happening everywhere. So,
You think?
Yeah, for sure. There's just a disconnection, and I think it's just
Whose
time.
job is it though, Mark? Whose job is it? Is it I have a client, I have a retail client, a big retail client who's just appointed head of customer journey, right? I'm not into titles, but I know what they're getting at, and I think they're probably right. But what they're trying to find someone that can see it all the way through and make sure that it's real on the floor.
So whose responsibility? I think if it's let's say it's it should be more of a group thing,
A collective,
yeah, a collective
team
that
thing.
you're all, as you were saying about the presentation swapping and all the rest of it. You should all be looking out for each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it should almost not need explain. So you should have on every campaign that's going on or every initiative, or you've got a representative from people, ops, marketing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if it was a marketing initiative, let's say, not to be in silos, but let's say it was the new katsu burger or whatever it is, I would actually place that at the marketer's door. And they need to either communicate with ops to get into the restaurants, or they just take it upon themselves. But they make it exciting for the staff to actually get engaged in it and get interested.
Yeah.
But I think that's starting from the inside out. It's really good. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's when people launch a new menu.
Yeah.
And you go in, you ask for something, and the staff just look at you blankly.
No idea.
And they have no idea. And you go, something terribly wrong.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, I've seen that too much.
Yeah.
In the last 2 or 3 years, I've seen that far too much.
I feel like this is a downer to end this.
It is. Shall we do something more? Shall we finish on a high?
How are we going to do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is that a hug?
Right. Well, listen, thank you so much
No,
for
always
that
good to
amazing
speak to you, Mark.
hour and a bit. Yeah.
God,
yeah.
eh?
So
you need to edit that bugger
we didn't,
back.
No, I'll be right. So we didn't touch the questions too much, I don't think. But anyway, I think we covered
Don't
some
tell Gabby.
stuff. Oh, she'll never know.
She'll never know.
So yeah, so thanks. So that was amazing advice. 11 words.
Aye.
I think that's the big one.
Yeah.
It's excellent. So yeah. Right, let's go to the pub.
Let's do
Thanks,
that.
dude.
Yep. Cheers.